Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Hi, guys. Let's wait for Maddie to join us. In the meantime, everybody, hello and welcome to Walk to Wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Maddie, there you are.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, guys. We are joined today by England hockey star goalkeeper Maddie Hinch. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm just out on my walk with. I'll introduce everyone to Willow. Willow, say hello. She's got a nice jumper.
Hi, Willow. How cute.
So yeah, no, I'm doing well.
Amazing. First things first, thank you so much for everyone joining us today. And if you've managed to make it outside, that's fantastic. It is snowing here in London. So if you haven't made it out, no worries. But if you can manage to get your body moving in any way, shape or form over the next 30 minutes, please do so. We are super passionate at WW about, getting everyone to walk together as a nation, move our bodies. It's good for the body, good for the mind, good for the soul. Okay, so I'm really excited to walk with everyone today, and I'm so excited to talk to you more, Maddie. And before we get cracking on that, I also just wanted to introduce everyone to our wonderful community manager, Pip, who is here with us today to feed through any questions that you guys might have over the next 30 minutes. So Pip, over to you for a few housekeeping rules, and then we'll get cracking.
Thanks, Nat. Hey, everyone. So as we are once again walking for our wellness with you all, we would like to ask you to donate for the well-being of others as well. For every walk you join with us, you can clock up steps and earn coins using the free app Sweatcoin. Every coin you earn and choose to donate to the Trussell Trust will help them ensure no families go hungry during lockdown. So please sign up to Sweatcoin for free, clock up your steps and earn coins to donate. And for every person that takes part, WW will also be donating to the Trussell Trust too. And just some housekeeping points for our walk today. Please remember you should not travel outside your local area while walking. Remember to look where you're going when watching your phone, and please be mindful of your route. If you have any questions for Nat and Maddie, please write them in the chat and we'll do our best to get them answered a little later. And finally, as you know, these walks are live, so we apologise if there are any connection issues, but we'll do our very best to bring our guests back as soon as possible. Over to you, Nat.
Thank you, Pip. All right, guys, I'm excited. So, Maddie, tell us where you're walking today. What's on your route? What might you be likely to see as we stroll?
So I'm in a little area called Pinkneys Green. For anyone that might know, that is in Maidenhead. So home for me is Maidenhead. I've been around. I lived here for 11 years because of my job. It moves me. Our training base is I would say 100 yards that way, so it's super close from here.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. And so right now I'm walking actually around a cricket pitch and into the fields beyond. I'm still quite central though, so a lot of cars around, but luckily my dog is not very fast, so I don't have to worry about her running off into the road.
Great. No slipping and sliding on the ice for you then. Good stuff. Well, I am walking in Hyde Park in central London, so we might see some horses. I'm walking west towards the Kensington Gardens, and it's pretty quiet actually, but to be honest, just before we started there was a major influx of people walking around, so it's good to see that people are not too scared of getting out in the snow, so that's always a good thing. Okay, so guys, please also let us know where you guys are walking. Pop it in the chat and we'll give you a shout out. And then yeah, I'm excited to get going. So Maddie, for anyone who doesn't know about your background, you're obviously incredibly accomplished, Olympic medals, you have an MBE, but please do tell us a little bit more about you, please.
So yeah, I mean, I started hockey when I was at school. I was actually a new kid in my year. My dad was in the Navy, so we traveled a lot as a family. And so I changed schools all the time. So when we finally came back to the UK, I joined this school, and they had hockey on their kind of winter sport, and I had no idea what it was. But because I was the new kid, it was like, hey, you can put all these pads on and become the goalie for our team. And I was like, hey, what does this mean? That position looks a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if that's for me. Anyways, I was given this big bag full of stuff, put it on, and yeah, I've not looked back since. It's a position that I think is incredibly unique in a team, and I love it. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then I've had a bit of a roller coaster journey in my career, selected, not selected. But I have to say the last 6 years or so have been mind blowing and way beyond anything I ever anticipated. So
wow,
yeah, it's going okay.
That's incredible. And so, I mean, on that note, I'm sure, you know, everyone's kind of dying to know, like, even more so over the last 6 years. Let's talk about you know, the last year, right? So you're at the top of, you know, you're at the top of your hockey game, England's #1, and then lockdown hits, right? So how did you deal with that? How did you cope? I would love to know.
It was tough because, I mean, for us, like, life is pretty normally non-stop. We're normally traveling, training, competing, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, guys, you cannot come into Bishop Abbey, which is our training base. You cannot come in. Everyone needs to stay home. And then the instructions were like, and make sure you just stay fit and strong. And everyone's like, hey, like, how are we supposed to do that? There's no gyms, there's no equipment. Yeah, so it was like really tough and quite a worry for pretty much everyone. I think I was very fortunate that I had enough support to get people to come and drop some gym gear into my garage. And I had a garage, I had that space, I had a little bit of garden space. So I was able to kind of adapt. And then, so for me, I just got my head kind of stuck into something a little bit different. But while staying fit and strong, I wanted to get on a bike more, kind of do some challenges with my housemates, kind of make it fun. So it wasn't so, didn't feel so away from the norm. So that's what we did. It just like mixed it up, challenges with housemates. The weather was super nice, so we were quite lucky in that first lockdown.
So lucky with the weather, weren't we? That it made such a difference. Especially, it was obviously such a difficult time, but I think we were so blessed with good weather. It kind of softened the blow a little bit.
Yeah, I remember I was saying, like, could you imagine having a lockdown in the winter? And here we are.
Here we are, but we're stronger this time round, aren't we?
Definitely. We definitely are. I think everyone's learned from that first one, so it's definitely doesn't feel quite as intense. But it's, in some ways, I think you have to look at it. It's such a unique time that loads of people will never, ever experience, to kind of have the stillness and the ability to sit back and really kind of reflect on stuff. That's what I've done. Like, I will take a lot what I've learned from this year into when life goes back to normal. It's just as crazy. And probably one of them is having time for yourself. It's so important to not just go all the time. And I probably learned that only because lockdown forced me to stop going all the time and get used to that. So you know, there's positives from this for sure.
And did you find that adjustment in the beginning, was it quite difficult to kind of shift gear and take that more, you know, like not being go? Like, did you find that difficult in the beginning? Did you feel like, you know, out of sorts? How did you deal, you know, with things on the more mental side of that? Obviously for you, a very, very drastic change of pace.
Yeah. Oh, it was really strange. And I think for most athletes, they'll say like doing nothing or like stopping is so like you almost feel guilty because you feel like you should be kind of like always doing that little bit more, trying to work on something that be a little bit better. So for me, like, I tried not to, I guess, be too hard on myself individually and allow kind of to get a positive from it. So allowing my body to rest, recover. I knew probably this meant that we'd have a whole nother year preparing for an Olympic Games. We were, you know, so close to going to the one originally. And so it was important that I didn't push it too much. So that now I still feel fresh. I still feel excited for what's coming. And I've not spent, you know, a whole year kind of pushing my body too much. So for me, I had to create a routine. That was key. Like, life was so different and I'm so used to like a schedule, get here, train here, do this. That was gone. So I had to create my own schedule and make sure I carried on training, doing fun stuff, but also like keep myself busy. That was key as well. Because the more time you spent sat thinking, you realize kind of the situation we were in and how difficult it was. So routine was massive for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, definitely personally found a lot of solace in having a routine, which was nice. And so obviously as an athlete, physically your physical skills are, obviously, unparalleled, and as a, athlete at your level as well, your mental skills are hugely important in getting you to where you've gotten in life. And do you find that those skills, those mental skills that you've learnt and practiced as an athlete over the years, was there anything that you took from those that helped you deal with the lockdown changes initially, and over the year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was so much, I guess, that I was fortunate to know a lot about going into that, and like mental health in particular is something that we have to focus on an awful lot as athletes, for so many different reasons. And I guess for me, a couple of the things that were probably vital during that period was like actually talking. So like, again, and in some ways it was kind of easier than ever because people were connecting more than they ever had, I guess. Like, you saw all the different things popping up about Zooms and webinars and the house party and all this stuff like coming online. But naturally, to actually like be honest with the people around you, like, I'm not feeling great today, anyone else struggling, like, how you're all finding it, those conversations are not that simple. And especially as athletes, being kind of seen as slightly vulnerable is a hard thing to do. We're almost like trained to have a sense of strength and boldness. Yeah, exactly. So that was one thing definitely that I learned an awful lot from. And what else was key for me? I guess so talking and reflecting was massive. Again, like, I don't know if this would probably be useful for some people maybe, but for me, one of the things I learned through this period was like taking time to reflect on like where I'm investing my time. And this is like almost like a little bit of a task that we do sometimes is from a psychological point of view, of like creating like a little circle, creating your little pie, and breaking your pie up into what is important to you. So for me, like as an athlete, you can spend your whole day thinking about hockey, and then in my pie of importance that I reflect on at the end of the day, it's probably a 25 to 30% importance in my life, because for me, health, family, friends, they are still always going to be above hockey. So it makes you then go, okay, well, what have I done today to actually invest time into my family or invest time into my health? So again, it's like a really easy thing to do that I have to reflect on, and it makes me pick up the phone to my mom, spend time doing this, getting out, mentally giving back to myself, because I go, okay, today I've given a little bit to each piece of my pie, which sounds strange.
No, I actually,
that's a really nice tool for me to use.
I've never heard of that tool before, and I think that is unbelievable. Like, you kind of look at your priority pie at the end of the day, and you're like, you can actively see any areas that you're potentially neglecting. I'm gonna thank you for that. I'm definitely gonna start doing that. And it's so
I like that you called it
absorbed.
Yeah, you called it priority pie. Like, that's great. I never came up with that one. So there you go. You've named it.
The priority pie. I love it. So moving on, like, obviously, you're being a part, you're part of a team, right? So how did you find being, working with people, being part of a team on a daily basis, to then going into isolation? Was that hard, or was it actually a bit of a nice break to have some time, by yourself? How did you find that?
I think it was a combination of both. I think initially I quite enjoyed, again, like the stillness, the kind of time to myself. Again, like life can be so go with demands from not just within hockey but outside of it, and your phone's going off all the time. And so for me, having that a bit of time for myself was key. But then within a matter of, like, we're talking weeks, you miss your teammates, you miss that kind of bond that you have with them, turning up every day, catching up, kind of going through the hard stuff together. So we as a squad made a real conscious effort to try and jump on Zoom calls and like have team quizzes and just stay connected, because that was the biggest potential probably challenge that we faced, is that when we came back, we kind of all were so far apart from knowing how we were getting on that we had to rebuild that kind of bond. And so for us, you know, that kind of putting in some time in the week to make sure we caught up on Zoom as a group, whether that was just for a chat. Like I remember sometimes on a Friday morning, it would be like, hey guys, who wants to just like jump on a Zoom and have a cup of tea together? But it was so nice. Like it was just so nice. And then again, in those moments, people could be honest, like, and just be like, hey, how's your week? Well, yeah, I found it quite difficult this week, or what have you done to help? So
Yeah,
again, saying that open communication was massive.
It is important to stay connected. And I know, you know, for a lot of people out there, you know, after a year of connecting with people over Zoom, or, you know, using technology as your means to connect, it does get tiresome, but I think it still is so important to actually embrace the fact that we can do that. Because it's just, you know, it's obviously, it's important to talk to friends, to family, to teammates, and like you say, to talk about how you're feeling and express that. So I agree with you. I think, yeah, Zoom, even though, you know, it's been a long year of Zoom calls, it's still important to do it. So moving on, you're obviously a very, very inspiring sportswoman. Do you feel the pressure to be a role model?
Oh, good question. Do I feel the pressure to be a role model? I guess I do a little. But then I have to quickly kind of like take myself back when I kind of get in those moments where I'm like, feel like I'm trying to deliver for people outside of my kind of circle. And when I say circle, I mean like literally me, coach, mum and dad, like the closest little tiny circle that are the people that are most important to me. Because really, as a role model, you just want to be you and kind of be true to what it really is like. So for me, I just try and be me. I want the kids to like, and not just kids, but like anyone to know kind of the reality of elite sport, and that is not that simple. It's so easy these days with all the platforms that we have to kind of portray this kind of always sense of it being great, and you know, everything is always about the highlights of the great saves, or on social media it's like everything's quite positive. But I guess for me,
there you are, back.
Oh
no, you're back.
I'm back. My mom rang me. That's annoying. Yeah, mom, god damn it. But no, so I think like I just try to be true to like to what, you know, what I do, and the tough side of it and the good side of it, and just be real. And I like to be someone who I feel like I'm quite open to answer people's questions or give feedback, because when I started, you didn't have these platforms. Like I couldn't go as a young goalie and ask on social media the world number one at the time, like, how did you become world number one? Like I couldn't do that. But like now we have these awesome platforms that you can engage, you can share your stories, and for me that is enough to kind of be the role model that I want to be, and just be normal, because I am like, I was a little kid who's got the same journey as anyone else, and I think that's really important that you display that, for sure.
No, that's incredible. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It is amazing how we, you know, we can access more of each other in this day and age, which is nice. And so I wanted to talk to you about, you know, you've obviously got a very strong mindset. You know, you can talk about being limitless and not being beaten. And I was curious if you have any tips for other people on how to become so mentally strong.
Oh, so yeah, again, I think it's a matter of patience, and also being kind to yourself, that it's okay to not be. I think that is honestly the biggest challenge. I'm definitely someone who, again, in my role, it's probably even more so than any outfield player, that is, you have to display the sense of strength. And when stuff goes wrong, for example, you concede 3 goals without even touching it, in that moment you have to still stand there, shoulders back, and be like, I'm okay, because I got to do it for my teammates. They don't want to see me, you know, crumbling behind them, or they're going to crumble too. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that it is going to go badly. Like nothing is ever perfect. You get over one hurdle, then there's always another like 20 to face. So being kind to yourself and accepting that it's okay to feel down. It's okay to have days where you're just like, that's okay. But for me, the ability to kind of, I guess, set tiny little goals all the time, like to achieve just a little bit all the time, gives me a huge amount of kind of self-belief and self-confidence that I am growing as a person, and that it takes time to get there. But if you know, you can look back and be like, this week I was so much better at that. Like that was something that I was really out of my comfort zone, but I know I did it. Okay, so next one, what's next? Rather than just be like, one day I'm going to be super brave and strong. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to be super confident. But okay, but what does that mean? How do you get there? Like, how do you get there? So it's all about, like, it's the tiny little steps. It's the tiny little goals. It's constantly reflecting. It's constantly being okay with like getting stuff wrong. And just knowing that like absolutely no one is perfect. And even the people that are perceived to be super brave, like I probably come across in my athlete world as like quite a strong character, probably super confident. It's so far from the truth. Like we are incredibly, as athletes, probably incredibly insecure, but we create routines and processes that allow us to get to that point when we need to perform, to trust that you can do it. It doesn't mean that when I get off the pitch, I still walk around like, oh, look how strong I am. Absolutely not. Like, we're all human. So I think that's really important.
No, you're absolutely, that's really valuable advice. Like, I really love what you said about creating small goals. And I think for a lot of people, you know, there is, when you look at the end picture, it's incredibly intimidating because how do you get there? You know, it's about small steps and building achievable goals. So I think, you know, you shared some really valuable insights on that. And you're right as well. We all, you know, it's human nature. We all have our insecurities, don't we? No matter how good we are, no matter how successful we are, no matter how confident we seem, we all have stuff going on. So
exactly. And that's
I appreciate you sharing that. And so I wanted to ask you about self-belief. Is that something that you have had to learn, or do you think you were born with a pretty solid self-belief system?
I think on this one, I think the belief has always started with me. So because my journey was quite difficult at the beginning in terms of like, I've always been a keeper that's a little bit different. Like I play a game of I was quite active and I like to get off my line back then when like goalkeepers were usually someone who would just kind of stand there. It wasn't, weren't seen to be athletic as such. And then I came along and I was a good athlete, but yet I wanted to be the goalie, and it kind of didn't match up, and I was different. So people didn't like different, so they just didn't pick me. And, you know, if I kept listening to people kind of outside that kept saying no and no and no, and I didn't have that inner self-belief where I was like so driven to prove them wrong because I truly felt that I had something to give in this sport, then I wouldn't be here today talking to you about all this stuff for sure. Like it just wouldn't be the case. So for me, belief has started. Has it always been there? Like, is it always there? Absolutely not. I still have days where I walk onto the pitch and I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this today. I know for sure though, like the one thing that can give you the utmost belief in a situation that might seem like a quite pressurized moment or whatever is ticking boxes and just feeling incredibly ready. So for me, the reason I get up every day and do all the sessions and do all the little things like to perfection is because then when I arrive at my moment, I'm like, there's just no fear. Like the belief is there, there's no fear. Like if it doesn't go well, what else can you do? So I think
you've done everything you can.
If you can always truly look back and go, I really have given it my all, like as cheesy as that sometimes sounds, but if you really have given it your all, you will arrive there. There's no reason why you shouldn't believe, and there's no reason to fear anything, and then there's no regrets. So that is like probably an athlete's biggest fear as such is regret. Like regret, I didn't do it. I know that morning I just chose not to get up and do my session. That sticks with you for sure. Like that is there. And I think for me, it's always just making sure I just always give my best. Like if I do that, then there's no reason to fear anything. Like I can only do my best. So
no, that's amazing. It's honestly, you've got such incredible advice to share. So thank you for that. We have about a minute before I'm going to throw it over to Pip to get some questions coming in. But, you know, it would be a shame not to talk about the Olympics very quickly, and if that's something that you're training with the Olympics in mind. How are you feeling about that, and are there worries about how it might be different? I'm sure we'd love to hear about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so of course, like it's been tough, and it's very easy to get caught up in all the chitter chatter. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Like all of this stuff is totally out of our control. Again, what we can do day to day is, I'm excited for what is to come this summer, because not only now is it going to be like the, chances are the games will go ahead, and if and when they do, it's going to be so special. It will be a games like no other for so many reasons. And to have the opportunity to potentially be involved in that is something that again makes getting up every morning super easy. So so for me, I'm excited for us as a group. We're quite a young team. Off the back of Rio, a lot of people retired, so we're really building our own journey and creating our own story at the minute. And I think that extra year that we've had now under our coach, another year for people to develop, is going to help us. And again, we've had opportunities arise from the fact that we're not traveling. We're getting more time spent at Bish, and we can work on certain things that we never normally have the time for. So I just think we're going to go in stronger. Like we're going to go in a better place than we probably would have this last summer. So I'm just excited. And yeah, the key is to just not read the Daily Mail and to just focus on my day-to-day, ticking all my boxes, so that again, if it is me in Japan and I am that number one keeper for the team, I'll feel ready and I'll go out there and again have no regrets like I did in Rio.
Yeah, well, we are excited and we are rooting for you, that's for sure. Well, look, that draws sort of my questions to an end, although I feel like we could keep on going for another half an hour, but I've seen there's quite a bit of action in the chat. So Pip, if you want to feed any questions through to us,
absolutely.
Let's get going.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of questions in the chat. Everybody has loved listening to you both. And Maddie, you've got some fans in the house as well. Nicole says you're an absolute legend and one of her biggest heroes, and she's now a retired goalkeeper herself. So we've got a few as well.
Thank you.
I'll start with one from Deb, who has asked if you have any tips for people to stay fit and consistent at home, but are struggling with an injury, as Deb currently has a cast on her wrist. I'll get well soon.
Oh yeah, get well soon to you. I think again, I appreciate that it's really difficult at home at the minute, and all I would say is, again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, like try not to again set your goal too much. I gotta be fit and I gotta stay strong at home and all this. Like just set yourself little targets each day. So like what you can do, obviously you can't do weight bearing through your wrist, but you can still do sit-ups, you can still do squats, and all this is body weight. There is so much stuff online these days to find things that you can just do basically, and then say, okay, before I get up and have my breakfast, I'm going to literally jump into my living room, I'm going to do 100 body weight squats or whatever it is you want to do. Tick, box ticked, and you've achieved something that day. It might be tiny, but it's something. And so that would be kind of my advice.
Amazing, thank you. One from Phoenix, who is asking, Maddie, what kind of food do you like to eat while you're training to help you stay fit?
So I love food, full stop. That's definitely a key one. I think again, like my diet is varied. Like it depends on where I am in my training program. So sometimes I'm more gym focused, in which case the protein intake would be higher. It's quite complicated. The key with diet and eating well is eating little and often. And what I mean by little amount of food, you eat a lot. It's like something, even that, if that's an apple, don't let your body go 4, 5, 6 hours without any food. It's the worst thing you can do. You'd be better off kind of splitting up your kind of calorie intake for the day into so many little meals, so you can grab it and go. And if you're prepared with that sort of stuff, it's easy because it's there for you, ready to grab. Whereas if you've not done the prep, you're like, oh, I've got nothing in the house, I need to eat, I'm starving, you'll probably go grab a chocolate bar. Like we've all done it. We'll probably just go grab something that's easy. Yeah, grab something that's easy. Like preparation and little and often is absolutely massive when it comes to nutrition. And yeah, I when I've been in my best shape, I've had the most calories. I'm taking on the most calories. So that kind of belief that if I eat a little bit less, I'll like lose weight is absolute rubbish. Like you literally have to fuel your body to get where you want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. One for you, Nat. When we talked about staying and trying to get mentally strong, how do you set yourself goals with that in mind?
Interesting. I would say on the mental side, I probably take that a little more day by day in terms of just trying to have moments of solitude or moments of practicing, some nice deep breathing, or a little bit of yoga or mindfulness. But that's an interesting one. It'd probably be good for me to start putting some more goals in place on the mental side as well as, fitness or career. But staying mentally strong, I just like to take that on a day by day. And if I ever feel overwhelmed with something, I'll always kind of try stop and take a second to just regroup, take a few deep breaths, focus. I think we can find ourselves in moments of stress or overwhelm, and I think the best thing to do to stay strong in a moment like that is to actually just pause, and think for a second and make a little bit of a plan. But yeah, I'd say goals, it's planning more, I'd say, to kind of have a bit of a mental action plan for when times are tough. But otherwise, for me, it's a day by day thing.
Yeah. Okay, great, makes sense. One more for you, Maddie. This is from Catherine. Who was your number one hockey role model or hero for you?
I get asked this question a lot, and I really wish that I had this one person, but I've never had. I can honestly say that for me, again, mom, dad, they are literally the only people that I kind of really want to impress. My brother as well. Of course, he'll be angry if I leave him out. But yeah, those guys are massive to me. And then it's always been more of a case of who is the best in the world right now. That's changed over the years. So when I first put my kid on, I know who that was. 5 years later, I know who that was. So I would always just be like, that is who I want to be. That's where I want to get to. So what are they doing that means that they are there right now? That's kind of always how I've looked at it. And when that person wasn't there anymore, or they retired, they stepped aside, okay, who's there now? So for me, yeah, that's kind of always what it was. Who's where I want to be and how did they get there? So that's how I've always done it. So for me, I've just always looked at who is the current leading female goalkeeper in the world, why are they there, and what can I do to get there?
That's awesome. What a great way to look at it. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay.
Hello. Do we have any more questions, Pip?
I think that's most of them from our side.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much, Maddie. And thank you everyone else for joining us on our walks to wellness. I absolutely loved chatting with you, and thank you so much for sharing so much valuable insight and advice about goals and mental strength and physical strength, and telling us more about your career. It's been a really fantastic 30 minutes. And thank you to everyone who joined us today and who managed to get out. We will be doing this again on Thursday, so please do join us, 1 p.m. Walk to Wellness. Thank you so much, guys. See you then.